Born to a hardworking postman and growing up with five siblings with a loving mother taught me to persevere through life's hardships and reinforce the importance of love while facing challenges. Getting by with the bare minimum, my siblings and I never complained, as whatever we lacked wasn't as important as sticking together as a family, loving one another. I remember my mother, who didn't even complete school, religiously sitting with my siblings and I, spending her time and effort cooking for us and teaching us, helping us with our homework. My father, on the other hand, was a strict man, very strict man. He instilled in us principles, he instilled in us discipline, obedience, and faithfulness to God. Things went well for me, very well, in fact, academically when I was in school. In primary school, I was often top of the class and I was scoring A's for fun. However, being a scrawny, passive boy who knew not of the cruelty of the world, it somehow made me a prime victim of bullying in secondary school. On top of that, my family, we weren't rich, so I couldn't keep up with the expectations of my friends around me. To add to this constant challenge that I was facing, my eldest brother was someone that I looked up to, died at the tender age of 21 due to a car accident. I was 13 at that time, and somehow all the responsibility of being the eldest son in the family was on me. Mourning his loss, trying to fit in a different school when I was secondary school, I found it really tough, and I started questioning my purpose in life. Unfortunately, my performance in school suffered, and in time I lost interest in school, thus disappointing my parents who had high hopes for me. Thankfully, I wasn't a complete failure. I grew in confidence and stature towards the end of secondary school and scored decent results, which awarded me with a scholarship to be an English language teacher. A life-defining moment. Looking forward to greener pastures, I assumed that my career to become a teacher was my calling. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do initially. I had interest in languages. I loved the literature that my teachers were teaching me. I loved the music, so I assumed this could be a direction that I could take. The option of a private college was not something that was available to me due to my family's socio-economic status. So I took what I had and I applied for it, went for the interview, spoke my heart off, shared everything that I did in school, where I came from, and thankfully, the interviewers who eventually were responsible for me being in Teachers College liked me, and I enrolled in Maktab Perguruan Persekutuan Pulau Pinang in 2005. Unfortunately, it did not go so well or as well that I wanted it to be in Teachers College. Somehow the people around me were suspect to new ideas, and they took my passion for something that was negative. They were offended when I was critical and a bit vocal with my opinions and questions. As I was about to give up, I believe I met an angel sent by God. The name of my mentor, Dr. Maria Ibrahim. I will proudly and always call her my friend, my teacher, and my mentor. When nobody else did, in 2005, in 2006, 2007, the early years of my time in Teachers College, she saw something in me. She showed faith in me and guided me in the right direction. She believed in me. She constantly challenged me. She encouraged my ideas and was the only person who believed that I could be a great teacher who would somehow transform lives one day. And after completing my studies in 2011, I looked forward to doing that. I looked forward to being her. I looked forward to playing the role of that individual to other students. When I was in Teachers College, I had the experience of teaching in a very good school for my practical in Penang Island. In that school, the environment was amazing. Facilities were complete. All the teachers there were very competitive with one another. They wanted to bring the best out of each other. So I assumed that my career trajectory was going to be as such. I was going to be in an environment that's going to develop me, that's going to push me forward. Somewhere, a place that I could implement my ideas and start off a prospectus career as an English language teacher. But when it all happened in January 2012, the saying that God works in mysterious ways never felt so relevant. My initial plans and dreams were shattered as I was deployed to rural indigenous Orang Asli primary school in the lush greens of Pahang. The school was called Sekolah Kebangsaan Rencang. I remember my first day like it was just yesterday. I was clueless and I was anxious. My first month, I found myself trying to fit in again. But as I was just trying my best and saying, let's try to make the best of this situation, unexpectedly, one of the first things that a senior teacher gave to me and said to me was this: Sam, kamu tak perlu buat apa-apa. Mereka cuma murid orang asli. Meaning, Samuel, you don't have to do too much. They're just Orang Asli kids. I was confused. And being the naive new teacher I prematurely believed what this individual was telling me. And from that moment onwards, I was able to see that it was not just this individual, it was the whole environment, it was the school, it was the community, it was the children. They believe that they are incapable. The teachers believe that the kids can't do much. The community themselves believe that they are incapable. And months after, it made sense to me that despite the various challenges of teaching in a rural school, the main obstacle for me was the negative perception of the school and teachers and the community themselves that the indigenous children that I was teaching was not worth the value and time. They deemed that whatever that was taught was never going to make a difference because of the children's ethnicity, and so nobody bothered to make an effort. Disgusted I was completely, and the first 3 months, I really had to put myself in a position to reflect on what I was doing, and I almost quit. Why? Because of the toxic environment. And what has happened was, what is continually happening with a lot of Orang Asli schools is that they are one of the worst performing schools in a lot of districts and different states. And with that, in that state of confusion and disbelief of where I was, how I saw my life was going to pan out ahead of me, how I looked up to my teacher and my mentor, how I wanted to be like her, I looked forward to leaving the school as soon as possible. What changed? Well, almost 10 years down the road now, I don't remember a day that I was unhappy that I had to go to school. That I woke up feeling stressed or went home feeling extremely demotivated. Never. My indigenous kids and the children in the community always made me happy when I was in distraught. A day in my life includes an abundance of innocent smiles, high fives everywhere with the children, hugs, and a lot of good morning wishes from all the kids in the school, even the kids that I don't teach. Yes, as you can see from the smile on my face and the glimmer in my eyes, I fell in love with the kids and the community. I bonded with them. They trusted me and I trusted them. I dived and indulged into their livelihoods and embraced their culture. And because of that love, it led me to see the potential in them. And it blossomed in my heart and in my mind that I'm here for a reason. This is where my life changed, ladies and gentlemen. I did not change the life of my kids, but to me, my Orang Asli children changed my life. Thus, I believe, and I will continually be doing this, that I have a story to tell. A story advocating for my indigenous children. The only thing that I had in mind back then when I was still in the school, and even that I have right now, was to continually do my best to give my best for my students, no matter what the cost. And when I was constantly challenged with the perceptions and the stigma placed on them, I decided that I was going to roll up my sleeves and do something about it. Enough was enough. Teaching English in an Orang Asli school is very challenging. The main reason behind it was and is that my students do not have any reason why they want to learn English language. They have got no use for it. Therefore, the combination of the environment, the toxic environment that I was explaining about, on top of that, the superficial focus on exams in a lot of schools, the idea of school and learning throughout the years became less and less meaningful to them, and it's continually being that way. Therefore, for me and my students, after listening to them, after indulging in their livelihoods, we realized that we had to ensure that learning was fun, learning was meaningful, learning related to their culture, learning related to who they are, and it had to be something that they experienced. They must come to school, and they should come to school, and they should enjoy learning because they wanted to learn and see value in themselves. So championing 21st century lessons, I ensured that each class, each subject, each hour that I had with the student allowed them to lead and assist one another, solve problems, explore and learn through the experience, and feel involved in the learning. Automatically, that created sustainability and that created autonomy. Was it hard? Extremely. It took a long time because I was shifting from something that's usually done completely differently. I had challenges from other teachers. I had challenges from people outside of the school, people who did not understand that I was doing because I was going in a different direction. But that direction was a direction that was led by my students and myself. I continued doing this for years, and together we created a safe environment for my students to communicate and use the English language. Frequently speaking to them in the English language definitely helped, and they found a safe haven in my classroom to use it with themselves, with one another, and even at home with their parents who did not speak a word of English. They worked in pairs and in groups. We did exhibitions and interviews. We flipped learning. We did presentations. We corrected and did assessments for one another. We read book after book and we reviewed it. We shared it with different people. All methods which were said to be impossible for indigenous children to adapt to. You know what they did? They absolutely killed it. Though my children and I did our best in the classroom, I realized that there's more to be done. Mainly because of the complexity of the problems faced, of the educational problems faced by the Orang Asli community. We studied under trees and we came up with our own school called Sekolah Pokok. We used ukuleles to teach each other English and sing English songs. We recited poetry to one another, and fast forward after 8 to 9 years in the school, the once dull, toxic environment that existed in the school changed and is now something that's filled with music, laughter, poetry, technology, and English-speaking Orang Asli children who enjoyed learning English. Something that was and is still deemed impossible in many rural indigenous schools. Not only that, hear me out, it's not just the experience that we went through. Throughout the years, my children and I have created a paradigm shift of what indigenous children are capable of, especially through their rapid interest to learn English and their improvement in exams. To conclude my sharing today, I would like to encourage every teacher out there to not just teach, but create relationships and inspire your students through love. I believe that teachers set the tone for intrinsic motivation, and they are one of the biggest agents of change. Recent studies even show that students who like their teachers are 9 times more likely to enjoy school. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? That students actually don't learn from teachers that they don't like. They don't learn from teachers who actually have relationships with them. So, what's stopping you from doing this? What's stopping you from connecting with your students? Trust me, it's worth it.